Welcome to Binge Theory, the coolest corner on the internet. My name is Julian, and today we have Logan.
Hey.
And Eric.
Hello.
And we are going to be discussing The Mandalorian. What episode is this, gentlemen? Is this 4?
Yes.
Episode 4, titled The Siege. And as Logan pointed out last week, this is directed by Carl Weathers, which is, famously known as Apollo Creed from the Rocky franchise. And also he was the backstabber in Predator that got redemption at the end and his arm blown off and all that wonderful stuff. So, gentlemen, I was actually really excited about this because I saw that Gina Carano was going to be in this, as well as Carl Weathers. And Logan, since you told me that he was going to be directing this, I was really anxious. And, I will say that I think he nailed it, in my opinion, because it could have gone either way. I had some thoughts on the story, but as we go forward, we can discuss that. Anyway, I will let Logan, you go first. What were your overall thoughts of this week's episode of The Mandalorian?
So the overall thoughts, I think while there were a few interesting beats in it, I was probably the most disappointed in this one of the 4 so far. And again, not from what I could tell, due to anything other than just a very, very lazy story. Everything it just seemed like a series of great beats, but were only strung together by, well, why is this happening? Because the last thing needed it to. Why is this happening? Well, because the next thing needs it to. There was just a lack of a cohesion and a flow. I mean, look, if you're a Mandalorian and your buddy tells you, oh, it's this abandoned base that, just happens to be powered by a volcano and was the entire, garrison of troops that came from that we fought last time, I don't believe that's abandoned. I don't think it really works like that.
Well, now, technically, was it even a base? Because his intel was all wrong. He said it was a forwarding base, and it turned out to be a lab.
Yes.
And we can talk about that lab as well. What was going on in that lab, and the reveal kind of at the end. I'm sorry, just to dovetail on what you're saying.
Yeah,
I agree with that in the sense, but I'm also beginning to get a feeling of dread over this entire season. I don't want to say bad. Let's just say it is lazy writing and predictable and a lot of cliche and repetitive beats.
It was one cliche, one just because it needed to happen after another, and it just, running down random hallways just to show running down hallways, not because they make any logical sense where you're going. Oh, look, here's the foreshadowing of that really cool vehicle that just happened to be sitting there because, oh, you'll need it to get away. And, they leave the keys in the antique all gassed up, ready to go for you. That's nice. Oh, we made it. Oh, wait, no, now there are ships coming and we have to blow the ships. And, oh, I got it, but it blew me up too. And, oh, I just escaped. And like everything about it has been seen so many times before.
The turret gun,
all of it. Yep. Again,
so let me ask you, Logan. Were you disappointed that we didn't get to see Ahsoka Tano in that episode? Was that also a source of your disappointment?
To start, I think it was. Yeah, no, that's a good point, because I certainly do want to move the main. I want to see the main story. I want to see Ahsoka. I want to see where that's going. I want to see how that plays out. I think that was certainly part of it. The reveal at the end with Moff Gideon was interesting because it made that particular episode play a lot heavier into fleshing out the B story, where they've been doing the genetic engineering. Why were they doing all that? Well, Moff Gideon is creating a whole garrison, basically, of dark stormtroopers or dark troopers, which again has lots of ties back to Clone Wars and Rebels, and some of the we're talking the earliest video games, Jedi Knight and Jedi Outcast and Knights of the Old Republic, I think, even, and some of the older video games that I've played 10, 20 years ago, bringing some of those kind of storylines in. So seeing what Moff Gideon's kind of end game is and where he's going and what he's doing and why. Yes, originally I was totally kind of like, all right, another side thing. I don't want to see a side thing. I want to get to the main story. But this so heavily played into the B story, it overshadowed that by the end of the episode.
Yeah, and what were your thoughts? I mean, you're not wrong on any of those notes. Look at, I'm going to reserve some of my other critiques for later on. But Eric, what was your first interpretation of this whole episode?
Yeah, I mean, I try to kind of measure my expectations with this show, and just like my experience with comic books and TV shows and stuff like that. And when you come into the second, installment of something, it can be hard to kind of really nail that midpoint of the season. I'm sure they have an ending in mind. They know what they're getting to, and they've got a good beginning, and we all like season one, and so it can be kind of hard to fill out that middle of the arc. I really did like the action. I felt like seeing the stormtroopers on riding those vehicles, that was very nostalgic for me, and I was intrigued by the ending of the episode. That sparked my interest. I am interested to learn more about this black saber and all of the plans that Gideon's got in place. But yeah, no, it wasn't the most amazing episode. So yeah, I would, probably C+.
Oh, so we're throwing out grades now. All right, don't get me started. See, I use the percentage metric, so it's
okay.
I going along that line. Let me give my little 2 cents here. So you're 100% right. Tempering your expectations definitely helps with this series. And because I had, the foreshadowing of knowing that Carl Weathers was going to be directing it, I was kind of looking at it not based on the overall story, but some of the beats and the I guess the application of directorial skills. And I will say you're right, Logan. It does look like you could take any scene and place it in any one of these episodes, and it would fit because it is what I call the successful, overly used formulaic version of Law and Order. But if anybody's ever watched Law and Order, there's literally just 3 parts to every episode, and it's so typical. I think Adult Swim did a funny take on it where they had literally the entire story of a Law and Order played out by chickens. And so there was no dialogue, just the chickens clucking. But every scene, you knew exactly what was going on because it was formulaic, and you knew what would happen, who was who, and how it was going to end because they all end the same way. Just like this, I mean, you have, again, the, Lone Wolf and Cub, reluctant hero being roped into some crazy scheme and, pulling it out at the end and going on his way. It is Kung Fu. It is, basically, a episodic one, but with a slight story arc. I will say that I was pleased at Carl Weathers' application in this sense. The first scene, and I want to talk about this, right out of the gate when he's flying the jalopy, which is, again, like Eric said last week, it's held together by twine, and it's insane that this thing is in space. But what's even more in space is he takes Baby Yoda, puts them, in the console or in the actual, hardwiring of the ship, and he's just like, trying to talk them through how to do some wire repair. And he's like, you see the blue wire where you took that out? Put the red wire in. And I'm telling you, I was laughing. If for those watching, if you go to our Instagram account, you'll see that we posted a fun, A/B video photo of that, because it's adorable watching little Yoda try to be an electrician. It is hilarious, and him talking him through it, and the sounds that Baby Yoda was giving, like a baby cooing, because he can't talk, so he's like, huh, what, and I loved just that. It had me rolling. And also the scene where they put Baby Yoda in the school, and the little kid is eating, what are those, like Nilla wafers, but just blue.
Blue Oreos. Blue
Oreos,
yeah,
exactly. But when in doubt, just make it blue. And that now it's alien food. Milk, Oreos. It just, put some food coloring on it. When he was looking at the little kid, and the little kid was like trying to, eat his, Oreos in peace, and Yoda's like trying to, Baby Yoda's like, come on, give me some. And then he turns away, and he uses the Force to steal, which is what the Force is primarily for, is just to steal other people's possessions. That's the way I see it. And but the comedic timing, I thought, was pretty good for for Carl Weathers. And again, but the running down the hall, shooting again, where I got to bring it up, these inept soldiers at every turn, again, hit nobody. And we spoke about this. I don't want to belabor it, but it's almost like if you're playing a video game and you're in God mode, it kind of takes away the stakes, because they're not going to get captured or shot by any stormtrooper, because it's like Hogan's Heroes. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
They're not effective. And but I did, and to Eric's point, I love Logan. What's the name of the speeders that they used? The technical name. Because it's not a land speeder. A land speeder is what they drove there.
I would just call it a speeder bike, but I don't know that's okay.
That's it. Yeah. So those speeder bikes, great effects. Again, it seems like they have,
rolling down the mountain like that.
Yes.
Even the TIE fighters coming in the cave, and then the aerial scene between the Razor Crest and the TIE fighters, like those are movie quality effects. Like It's incredible.
And it's odd, because you have these movie quality effects kind of stamped on to a, let's just say, a rather generic sci-fi channel type of a story. And and it does feel disjointed, because it's almost like you're and again, I'm not trying to take anything away from Sci-Fi Channel, but they do have a lower tier of episodic shows, so it's almost, not in all cases, but the budget requires them to keep it kind of grounded, so you have these sets that are fine, well done, detailed, and then you jump to this amazing, where the Razor Crest is fighting the TIE fighters, and he's doing these, nice aeronautic moves, and I loved it, but it just seems out of place with the grounded visuals. Speaking of which, and the criticism number one, how did they repair? And what is it? I know I like to call it the Seacrest. It's called the Razor Crest. Razor Crest. Okay, how did they totally repair the Razor Crest in just that one, few hours of a mission? I'm assuming they jumped because that thing was fully functional.
Fully functional, shiny, all the way down to the little.
That's some Christopher Nolan types timeline stuff. But I'll forget that. But that being said, I appreciated some of those comedic moments that literally made me laugh out loud, and was funny enough for us to make a meme on it. Don't forget to check our, like I said, our Facebook and our Instagram, because you'll see the funny image we put up there. But Now, and Logan, in regards to, you were talking about the effects and the the aeronautics. Let's talk a little bit about the story. And
okay.
And you're talking about comparison to like the earlier stories with Clone Wars and things like that. And I also do remember seeing bits and pieces of the video game The Force Unleashed, and how there was a cloning aspect to that. So it's revealed at the end that Moff Gideon's plan was to take, I guess, the metachlorians. I know that's a word that we don't like.
You said the M word.
Up from Baby Yoda and inject it into, I guess, these candidates. But it looks like some of these candidates just, it didn't work, and so I don't know. But yeah, fill me in on some of the backstory on that, because it came across a little like Alien Resurrection.
It definitely, no, I think that's very accurate. Yeah, I mean, throwing out the whole, what do they call it? The M levels or something like that? The scientists called it, but it's like we all know what they're doing, and going back to that, I think, is an interesting choice. Using the whole midichlorian thing as opposed to just the original energy field that surrounds everybody and everything. That Obi-Wan used in the first movie, the Alec Guinness Obi-Wan used in the first movie. So yeah, that's a whole different conversation there. But yeah, so because of the cloning and the tanks and stuff, it looks like they may be doing a version of a clone-based Dark Trooper. Some of the original ones, I want to say back in Dark Forces, which was the video game from, I think, 1994 or 5 or something like that, way back when. But they wanted, the plan was, or the story was, taking some of the technology that created Darth Vader and making more android-type stormtrooper, shock soldiers or whatever, to try and, I don't know, make a better stormtrooper that way.
Well, and let me just ask you a question on that.
Yeah.
Were those, at the very end with Moff Gideon, were those robots? Because
they were not robots. They appeared to be cybernetically augmented clones. So it seems to be similar to taking the technology that turned Anakin into Vader and augmenting soldiers in a clone type way. And what Moff Gideon obviously wanted was, he wants Force-enabled Dark Troopers. So, yeah, so that's what it was. So the experiments on the clones were to try and take the baby's blood and integrate it in to give Force capabilities to the troopers. And then, add in some of the cybernetic augmentation and some of the other stuff. And he's got a Force that would be, should hopefully put normal troopers to shame.
Maybe they can hit something.
You can definitely defeat the Mandalorian with that type of fleet or set of warriors, right?
Yeah, and in the Dark Forces game, some of them were, there were some Mandalorian characters in there, and they were able to defeat the kind of the Beskar armor and all the rest of that stuff too. So it's definitely setting up a Force with a lot more teeth than I think we've seen so far. And the other thing about this whole thing was that now that there's the tracker on his ship and he's going to see Ahsoka, now they're bringing Gideon in, with the child and Ahsoka. One of the last, they're starting this whole culmination for the last 4 episodes into what should be quite the explosive season finale if they stick the landing.
How many episodes are 8? 8, right?
I believe it's 8.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to hopefully have some sort of a climactic ending. What are your gentlemen's thoughts on Gina Carano? Because I have thoughts. I want to hear yours first on what you're seeing with her character and just her overall role in the series. Eric, you go first.
Sure. Yeah. I always thought she was really kind of a cool character. I am aware of the social media layer that has happened with her character. I wasn't aware of it until.
Oh no! You know what? This is a safe place. Feel free to expand.
Do you want me to expand on that, or?
Yeah. Because I do actually follow her on Instagram a little bit. Just to see, like, updates. But is there something juicy?
Apparently, there's a tweet. There's a tweet that she put out in regards to that we really need to get our election process together, in the United States, and a lot of people really gave some backlash on that.
Really?
In other words, implying that the U.S. election is fraudulent. That just happened.
Oh.
Yeah, a lot of people not happy with her about that. Anyhow, so.
Oh, so we hate her now.
Get into that in this format, but I'll just say I think she's really a unique talent. She brings a lot of physicality into her role, and that's not something that we see, a lot in the Star Wars films. Especially the ones of the past, some really strong female character that can take care of herself, and so.
Well, I definitely, I would say that physically, yeah, she's taken on a unique role. I would just throw in there that Star Wars was one of the first films I remember that had a woman who would step forward in situations. I mean, I'm going back to Princess Leia, of course, where she was doing a lot of the yeoman's work regarding saving the day. I appreciated that it was not making her almost like how the poster portrayed her cowering at Luke Skywalker's feet. But in this one, she's taking the lead, saying somebody's got to get us out of here, and I really liked that aspect of it. But physically, the brawler type, obviously Gina Carano's got a leg up on almost anybody, being a MMA champion. So I do like her utilization in that. Logan, what are your thoughts on Gina?
Personal stuff aside, I think they don't necessarily they haven't fleshed her out enough to know, what she's really doing, where she can really go. I mean, the little dialogue she had with the X-Wing pilot at the end was interesting. That really kind of started to fill in that she's from Alderaan, of all things. And how does that play into both traumatic past as well as, where she's going and what her real purpose is. Is she really just, is this going to be one of those still in pain, hiding from the world kind of a thing? Or is this, something else? It certainly explains why she may have joined the resistance fighters in the role that she did.
Yeah.
But, what drove her away from that? Where is she at? Like, we haven't had enough, I think, with her or just solely about her to really see where she can go and what she can contribute besides more accuracy than most stormtroopers put together. And kind of the conversation at the end was interesting too, where he kind of left her I don't know, I guess you'd call it like a PBA shield of the rebellion, basically. Wave this and you're back in.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's no sort of paperwork or anything. It's just, here's your badge.
Look, if you got the badge, you just skip the line. You go right to the turret.
Yeah.
So I think it was interesting. I think we're getting to see more with her. I like her on screen. I like her presence and her physicality and her, just the lack of her second. There is no second classness about her. She's just, she's just as likely to run into the line of fire and throw the grenades even without the Beskar armor. And I like how evenly she seems to be portrayed.
No, that's definitely an interesting take. I am a fan of her, obviously from her MMA days. I was a big fan of hers then. Acting wise, I I'm feeling a little trepidatious in where she's going with her acting. And I'll be honest, I think there's and I'll say this, and I hate to because I'm a fan of hers, but it's almost like she's doing more mugging than acting. And that's just my observation, because I want so many good things to happen for her and this character, but everything's kind of like a smirk and like an Instagram smile. Everything's a pose as opposed to, something going on inside. And I have a feeling that that's why they're not really putting her on screen that much. I mean, obviously, they have her doing scenes, but I don't know if she can carry her weight acting wise, just, based on the film I saw her in. And this, it's coming off very, this is what my face is supposed to look like in this scene, but there's nothing behind it. It's, I'm getting, and again, I know I'm expecting a lot. It's not like she went to, Juilliard and studied, acting, but it's just, I have a bad feeling she's not crossing that threshold to like The Rock or, somebody that's just taking that charisma and applying it to this skill set. I could be wrong. She could blow me away with some meaningful performance. I remember she said when she was being interviewed one time that Jon Favreau told her that he wanted this to be the vehicle that allowed her to be all the best aspects of who she is on screen, which I was really excited because I was like, yeah, give her that opportunity to really shine. And I see, and again, rooting for it, just don't see it. And yeah, physically, sure, she's throwing people around, but it's like, let me put it this way. Some of the best fight choreography in an episode type series was in Badlands. And I'm not expecting Star Wars to be, martial arts, but it's not that engaging. And again, especially since she's fighting stormtroopers, which are, cannon fodder. They're not really, there's no threat. I'd like to see her fight an equal. Maybe that would be a little more enticing if she fought somebody that, brought it and she had to raise her game. But it seems like she's beating up children, because nobody lays a glove on her. So there's no stakes, just like everything else. But I've said this before, this is supposed to be seen by, I guess, from if you're 6 years old or 60. So they're trying to keep it very even keel, not too heavy on the drama and the violence, even though they are killing stormtroopers like crazy. I was kind of entertained and horrified when they were trying to break into the lab, and Mando says, "Oh, give me 1 second." He just flies up to the launch pad and just throws the guy right off, thousands of feet to his death. And yeah, that's just that. So yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are dying, but as long as you have a helmet on, I think it's okay. I believe that's all right.
That's how it goes.
Yes, because you don't see the horror in their face while they fall to their death. It's video game violence. But anyway, let's see. I did like and I want to go back to that dog fighting. And Eric, I'm going to ask you about this because you have some insights into the technical aspect. When they're doing this new type of thing, I've seen it in some of the other Star Wars films where they have the body affixed camera, and it gives like a realistic portrayal of the fight because the camera's like mounted to the fuselage, and you see the speed and the banking and everything. It's like a set camera on the ship. I like that aspect of it. It seems like this is just, a high level of special effects attached to, if we're going to get those scores at it, okay, I'd say A- level of special effects to a C+ storyline with some C acting.
Are you kind of referring to the very final scene where they go, where they show that okay, now we're going to show Gideon's ship?
No. I'm talking about.
Is that what you're?
No, the dog fighting when the Razor Crest is fighting the 3 TIE fighters, and he's up in the air.
Okay.
And you maybe you didn't notice it because these were quick edits, but they mount the camera to like and again, this is all not real. It's effects, but the perspective is like literally side by side with the body of the ship, and all you're seeing is like the side of the ship is in frame, and then the banking and everything is in motion except for the ship. It gives it.
It's like the fuselage camera angle.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. I didn't know if you noticed that and you appreciated that. Because I definitely think
I don't have any.
No,
I don't have anything to add.
Logan, your thoughts on that? Because you're.
No, I mean.
No, I like it. I mean, I think that kind of thing is what's kind of raises the show from just your kind of TV show take to almost kind of more theatrics. Because I mean, it was first used in. I mean, I remember it in Top Gun. Maybe it was used in something before that, but that kind of a Top Gun angle, or what else did he use? Nolan used it in something else too, didn't he?
Well, I mean, Nolan did shoot Dunkirk.
So yes.
I'm sure he did it with that. Yeah.
And I'm sure it's been in a whole bunch of the other kind of ones like that. But yeah, that kind of camera, like, those are the wow effects and just kind of, choices that take a lot more, effort and planning and VFX and stuff, that when you throw those into, just a 40-minute literally show, it even with perhaps not the sharpest writing ever, it elevates everything.
I definitely think their camera work is good, but you can tell it's done by a different team. It's just you have your FX team, and then you have your I guess your ground team, and they don't look like they're reading the same script or in the same meeting.
That kind of a shot, the way the effects are done for the show, that would have to all be done and sculpted in the Unreal Engine that they use to go ahead and do it, almost just like a video game cutscene.
Exactly. And I've seen video games that have that level. Yeah. If not maybe that it wasn't, but I remember I used to be a big fan of the video game Ace Combat.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, at its time, it was like this, almost like a flight simulator, but you could adjust the camera angles. Like you could be third person or right behind the plane, or like right alongside it. So no, I think the fixed mount gives you that, not only the perilous sense of what because when you're looking from something drawn back, you're just seeing a silhouette rocketing through the sky. But when you're on it, you see all the banks and turns, and just everything seems just more chaotic.
And I think even as jarring as it can be, seeing those clearly different ways and different ways of looking at it, I think it can add a lot more to it. If you think of stepping out of this for a second, think of Rocky Balboa, where you have the whole thing shot, but then they brought in an entire like boxing TV and editing crew,
ESPN,
those boxing scenes like an actual boxing show production. Very jarring, very different than the whole rest of the movie, but added a substantial element to that particular scene. Same kind of thing here. If you're shooting something underwater, bring in an underwater crew. If you're shooting something in the sky like that, make sure it's that. And even if it is different, it's going to be jarringly different, but still in a more, I'll say realistic way, but take that with the grain of salt that it should be.
No, excellent point. And I'm sorry, Eric, were you about to say something? No. Oh, well, I will say this. There was something that I found irritating, and that was Carl Weathers' relationship with the bounty that Mando caught in the first episode of the first season. He stumbles across him, and apparently he's working off some debt, 300 and some years. I guess they don't call them light years; they're just years, And it did seem just a little forced, the whole dialogue between Carl Weathers barking orders at him, and you keep your gills there, and how would you like to just be left out? Just it seemed again formulaic and two-dimensional, and not meant to elicit any sort of camaraderie. It was just like, I'm your bully boss, and if you hesitate, I'll just squeeze and get you to do what I want. It seemed like a very, typical sad relationship. Anyway, that's what I took off it. I'm looking at some of the other cast members here. The Skywalker captain it was played by Paul Song-hyung Lee.
Mm-hmm.
Where I've seen him before. I'm trying to think of what else I saw him in.
I don't know what other show, but I mean, he's been the same X-Wing captain that was in season 1 who flew into with Dave Filoni and the other one, as well as we saw 2 episodes ago in the Ice Planet.
That's what it was. Yeah. I mean, and again, it's hard because, sometimes they're wearing helmets and then they take them off. And it's so brief. Yeah, no. You know what I think it is, because he's in a new series, and this is what I saw him in a commercial. It was Kim's Convenience. It's a TV series that came out like a few years ago, where he's basically a father running a convenience store. Oh. I knew I saw him in something. Good character act. I like the. Yeah. I wish they'd have more of him, because when he was talking to Gina Carano, it seemed very one-sided dialogue. And again, I love Gina as a fighter, not so much as an actor, and maybe even less so as a social media presence now. I don't know. Eric pulled back the blinds, and now I'm having all sorts of conflicts. You feel the conflict within me. I'm trying to let go, but there you have it. Let's see. I did like there were several things that I liked, but one of the things was the beats, and we were talking about the repetition of things you see when they're getting away from the TIE fighters at the very end, barely getting away from them, and of course Mando comes in with a fully functional a Razor Crest, very Han Solo-esque, and I was like, yeah, it's great, but is that what it is? Everything's a last minute save. Like the Mandalorians came in last episode, last minute save. And when in season 1, episode 8, when the Mandalorians come in at the last minute save, I get it. And it plays, but how many times do you think they can keep milking that cow where things just seem like at their latest and somebody shows up last minute?
The blue milk must flow.
Yes. And again, I'm sure the kids, the new generation, they don't see it because they're not studying the story structure like grown men, which is kind of the point. They're just enjoying it for what it is, and I think we're assigning way too much gravitas to these. Like, well, this doesn't make sense, and well, what about this? And how did they fix the Razor Crest? I think we should have a little more fun with it. And I'm trying. Again, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to watch the whole thing. But I think Eric hit the nail on the head.
It's hard. It's hard not to pick it apart.
Exactly. But to Eric's point, you temper your expectations. You show up just saying, this is going to be a fun series. I will tell you this, and this is why I know that it's lacking in just the acting and storytelling, is because if this did not have the Star Wars stamp on it, and was in the Star Wars universe, I probably would be tearing this thing a lot more apart. Just on the, if these were not established characters in a universe, I'd probably tear this apart. But it has so much of that, that Star Wars stank on it, as the kids say. It's hard to give it the full critical eye. Because when you hear the sound effects of the speeder bikes, pressing that nostalgia button, and I'm like, oh, I remember the forest scenes and how the two speed bikers looked at each other and said, you go that way. I guess that's some sort of high level military signal. And then they split off, and then exactly. I know that maneuver. But and then they show the foot on the pedals, and they literally showed the same scene from Return of the Jedi, like the angle of the bike when it was coming up and shooting. They're manipulating my emotions. Thank you, Disney, for doing that. Yeah, but that was. I'm interested in seeing the rest of this episode and where they go. Logan, what are your thoughts on where this is going? I mean, we can, I guess wrap it up because we've kind of touched on a lot of the main parts. But what are your final thoughts on this, and what to expect going for the rest of the remaining 4 episodes?
I'm excited. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, like Eric mentioned, I've been waiting for Ahsoka since I heard she was coming. So as soon as she's here, like, I cannot wait to see that representation on screen. And, the fact that in the end, this did move along a rather major B storyline. And not only that, but bringing the A and the B into a massive conflict, probably by season's end. Yeah, like I said, as long as they even relatively stick that landing, it should be a wild ride.
Good point. Eric, what are your final thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I still look forward to watching it every week. It's nice to have something to look forward to in these tough times, I'm still intrigued by the Mandalorian and his fighting abilities as well as his pilot abilities. And I like the vignette in the beginning with Yoda and the wires. That was very endearing, and it was got me in a good mood, just to see this classic film trope, put on the screen. I do appreciate the special effects. I mean, I do, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, there's no movies coming out. Disney's got all these ILM folks on salary, and they're just, making them do the best possible work that they can. But I mean, at this point, honestly, I kind of come back to the comic book heart that's in here, and if there's 2 pieces, you've got the story and you've got the imagery. So well together, everything's great, but I do feel like in this episode with the episode 4 that the story is lacking, and it was just of a detractor that it was kind of disappointing. So I'm hoping that episode 5 that they'll bring it back together and bring a little bit more story, have the story be a little bit stronger. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
No, that's succinct and a good point. I do have a follow-up question for you. As it's been established on this show, your fiance is a big fan of Baby Yoda. What was her response in the child labor laws that were being infringed upon by forcing Baby Yoda to do electronic works? Eric, you froze up? Yep.
To do what?
Yeah,
I'm here.
Did you hear me? I said your fiance is a big fan of Baby Yoda.
I heard about regarding Yoda and the child labor laws.
Yeah. Did she like that scene? What were her thoughts on it?
Yeah, no, she was eating it up. She loved every minute of Baby Yoda this episode. So yeah, this is probably her favorite episode. A lot of Baby Yoda in that one, with the wires, the cookie, and the throw up, and the school session. So yeah, it was, she really enjoyed it.
I will give them credit. Baby Yoda being a practical effects puppet and still getting that emotion out of it, that kind of tugs at your heartstrings, and the audio design, with the baby cooing and all that, it plays. I like it. And also the second thing I wanted to address was the you referenced a comic book structure and story versus design. That makes me think that, and this is probably why, these stories would be amazing if they were in a CG or an animated series. I think this would be a phenomenal animated series, just like Clone Wars and things like that. I think because it's, you know, shot with real people and real sets, and it feels like you're trying to bring a awesome animated series to life without putting in the fleshing out the characters in the way that you would have to make it plausible to have, you know, real people. So you know, it's funny. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's great to see these characters in the flesh, but I would have, you know, been eating it up if this was all, you know, done in the same way of Clone Wars or, you know, or Rebels, something in that thing. So, you know, that's my 2 cents on it. I will say again, just briefly, I think this was a win for Carl Weathers technically. Story was disjointed, and again, you're cramming a lot. You're cramming a mission into about 40 minutes, which, you know, you have to set up the plot, you know, the stories, and then you have to have the chase. I mean, it's, you know, it's basically 3 primary acts, and I think technically they pulled it off, but they're let's just say they're not running at full speed. They're kind of you know, there's a hitch in their giddy up, to use another analogy. But I am looking forward to this and seeing where it goes. And the more I hear from Logan and the backstory, the more excited it gets. Eric, like you're saying, it makes you want to learn more about the lore and the other ancillary tales and the backgrounds. Because again, I'm such a novice. I see a little bit of it and I know the reference, but I'm not a hardcore fan. But again, that's why this show is so important, because we have all these different perspectives. I can draw references to other films. Eric has, you know, the inner workings of Hollywood in that big brain of his, and Logan is an audio expert with, you know, the history of all Star Wars things that have ever happened and probably will happen. So there you go. We are the quintessential experts combined on the internet. And don't forget that. Speaking of which, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We got to pay the bills. So, you know, we need you to press that button, smash the bell, hit the subscribe button. And we're going to be, you know, doing a lot more of these. We're going to be expanding into several other types of shows, but we appreciate you. We want you to, you know, be well out there, take care of one another. And remember, if it's worthwhile, it's worth binging.